What's going on, guys? Army Teacher in the house, and I am here with the GPL W2 Power Rankings. This is going to be a new series I'm going to add to my channel. I talked about doing other content before. I was planning on hosting this with the commissioner of the league, Titanio. Unfortunately, this week Titanio is poorly. Get well soon, buddy. I'm sure we'll do one for next week. But yeah, it's power ranking time. So, with power rankings, it's very important to list the criteria to start with. We're going to be basing this purely off your win-loss record, and your differential will be your tiebreaker to determine what position you are in the rankings. I will, of course, be talking about my opinions, but please bear in mind these are my opinions. You may agree with me, you may disagree with me. If you feel like my decisions are wrong, feel free to let me know in the comments, or message me on Discord, whichever. I am perfectly happy to hear. But yeah, let's jump right into it, shall we? So, coming in at rank 16 this week is going to be Denisio, coach of the Swansea Surfers. Unfortunately, my would-be co-host is actually last. He's had a very hard start to the season. Unfortunately, he picked a very creative draft, and it's just not worked for him at all. Currently, of course, with an 0-2 and negative 10 differential. Not a super good start at all. With a really hard week one, not being able to get away those entry hazards with Spikes and Stealth Rock really hurting his team incredibly hard, and then getting 6-0 swept by a Dragon Dance inside Doggo. This could not go on for Denisio, so he has made some transactions, dropping the Mega Ardeno for Mega Beedrill with a particular highlight, giving him an actual focal point, a very good win condition in itself, with Beedrill being super fast with the adaptability and being known for his sweeping potential, and then Tapu Fini coming in as well, providing that much needed support, which will definitely give Beedrill a good chance to sweep. So I'm looking forward to seeing if Denisio can start picking up some wins and maybe do something about that differential moving forward into the season. Coming in at rank number 15 is probably the one I'm disappointed with the most so far, and that is Crasher. 0-2 negative 9 differential. For someone with such a high pedigree in the Poke1 community, he's in the Poke1's PvP Council. He even dictates a lot of the meta. He comes in with a lot of battling pedigree, but being good in limited format and being good at Draft League are two very different animals, and Crasher's really struggled to adapt to the Draft League format with an absolutely demonstrative 6-0 loss in week 1 and a forfeiture in week 2. His differential is really quite poor. I personally have questions over his attitude sometimes in the Discord server. He's often quite critical of other people in the league without really focusing much on himself. So if he can actually start applying himself a lot more and actually be a little bit more dedicated to the league and a bit more of a positive attitude, I do think a lot more is going to come from him. I think he's got an okay team. I feel like there's a lot of pitfalls, but I think he's got a good chance of getting some wins in the season. I know we do expect a lot more from him, so good luck to Crasher. Let's see if we can get some more from you. Alright, coming in at number 14 is going to be Crimpix, coach for the Nightmarish Shadows. Another member of the O2 club. We do have quite a few of them so far. Crimpix's biggest problem is his team building. He gets cleaned up quite comfortably. He's struggled to make teams work for him. He got absolutely demolished by a rain team in week 1, having allowed his opponent to set up. And in, of course, week 2, he got 6-0 swept by Transel, particularly with that Zera Aura absolutely putting in a huge amount of work after Stealth Rocks being up, and there's not really much that Crimpix could have done in there. So I feel like if I'm Crimpix, I look at my team and I start thinking about rebuilding my team builds to have a good balance of physical and special offense, because he has a very big tendency to run a serious amount of physical offense, and it's just not worked for him. Bit of team building help will help him a lot. Maybe a couple of free agency swaps or maybe some player-to-player trades might help him rebalance his team just a little bit, and that might enable him to start getting wins throughout the season. Coming in at rank number 13 is a familiar face to the GPL in Sylvie, the Miami Sylvians coach. Really struggling this season to get to grips with that team. Did well in week 1, taking a narrow loss, 2-0 loss to last season's champion. Is no mean feat by any means, but he got absolutely obliterated by rain in week 2. Sylvie's team kind of has a similar problem to Crimpix in a way. Sylvie's team's very specially offensive, but really lacks on that physical side, so it can be a little easy to prepare for him. So a little bit of adjustment will definitely help build a bit more physical, maybe get some physical wall breakers in, and it will definitely help balance his team out, and hopefully we'll start seeing Sylvie pick up some wins, because Sylvie's a bit better a player than the O2 -7 that he's currently got. Next up on the team is currently Silent Leche, O2 -6. Leche has a stall team in Draft League, which is just simply not working. Stall in Draft is pretty easy to punish because you can always prepare for it. Just by super strong offense, you out-punish the stall team quite easily, as demonstrated very nicely by Exostomp's Tapu Koko Harlucha draft in Week 1. Leche unfortunately forfeited Week 2, didn't play it on time. I find it hard to see how Leche is going to get wins this season, because there are a lot of offensive teams in the league, and teams that will be able to punish this rather passive looking team. So maybe put in some wall breakers, maybe get a cleaner in, move to a more semi-stall type setup, will give him a better chance of picking up some wins this season. Otherwise you might see him start tumbling down the rankings even further, which hopefully doesn't happen. Next up is currently going to be 2D, who's only really here on differential reasons. He's actually forfeited both his first 2 weeks of matches. Week 1 he actually played against me, and unfortunately he forfeited due to having an illegal move. But up to that point in the match he actually played very well. He's got a pretty decent understanding of battle mechanics, he's got a very good prediction game. So if he can play that well and maintain that form and actually play his matches moving through the season, you'll see him climb up the rankings very quickly. I think he's a very solid player. I think he will be a competitor for playoffs and maybe in the business end of the league later on in the season. Next up is another familiar face, is Agoshi. He coached the team Agoshi, of course, the last member of the O2 club with a -4 or differential. He narrowly missed playoffs last season to me, actually. He narrowly missed playoffs, actually, not to me. Someone else missed the playoffs to me. He was in the other division. But this time around, he's got a much better drafting around Mega Morwell, which was allowed this season. Mega Morwell's a monster. He's been picking up kills with it, but he's been unable to fully maximize the use of Mega Morwell so far. Not being able to clean up when it matters, not being able to set up when it matters, and getting punished for it. He is currently ranked 3 in the kill leader standings though, so it is impressive how he's been picking up the kills. One of Agoshi's biggest problems is his lack of hazard removal. He has very specific hazard removers, one of them being Swoobat, which is probably never going to come, and then his only other hazard removal is Defog on Zapdos and Rapid Spin on Starmie. And against me in Week 2 this week, he actually didn't bring either, so he had no hazard removal whatsoever. And the other biggest problem he has is he doesn't have a lot to hit on the special side. His specially offensive mons typically will be run defensively, so maybe pick up a special wall breaker, maybe a couple of extra hazard removers will be beneficial to him moving forward into the season. But he is a good battler, he is a good player to play against, so I'm sure he's probably already trying to work out how he can rebalance his team and make him slightly less susceptible. And he will be dangerous coming on into the season. He will be a shot for playoffs. Coming in at rank 9 is a late addition to the league, having stepped in post-draft, is Dizzy, coach of the Dizzy Wishmakers. He's been very inconsistent so far, mixed results coming in, very convincing win over Dinistrio in Week 1, into a very convincing loss to Titanio in Week 2. Dizzy will be a threat though if he can iron out these inconsistencies, because inconsistency will be the plague of most people in Draft League. It's certainly one of my weaknesses, but yeah, I think he's a very strong battler. I think he's definitely got good knowledge of the game, and his team builds definitely make a lot of sense. So, good luck to Dizzy, of course. I don't know if I play him this season, I hope I do. That'll be a fun match to play. Speaking of fun matches, coming in at rank number 8 is my good friend Huddle Penguin, who I played this week. We are actually streaming our match live, so if you're not following either me or Huddled on Twitch, both our Twitch links will be in the description down below. Go follow us both. The match is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to troll each other. Well, Huddle's been impressive to start the season off. He's never played Draft League before, so this is a new one for him. He does have limited competitive experience though. He has played ladder for a little bit. He's definitely shown some impressive signs of life. He played very well in Week 1 against Titanio, playing towards his big Mammoth Swine endgame. He definitely made it work. Week 2, he made the unfortunate mistake of playing to the wrong Pokemon as a win con. He had a Choice Scarf Persimmon, which really hurt Exostomp's team. Unfortunately, he sacked it off to a Seismitoad, and then unfortunately lost very narrowly because Magnezone clicked Flash Cannon on Mamoswine, having outsped. But it is important to know that Huddle's piloting of his team is pretty solid. Now, so far this week, he's had me helping him build his team. This week, of course, he plays me, so it'll be interesting to see what he's learned from his first 2 weeks and how he prepares to play against me. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm sure he'll do well in the business end of the season. He's definitely showing that he is perfectly capable and belongs in this company. Coming in at rank number 7 is Titanio, coach of the Loyal Macacos. He's coming back this season. He was the one who lost out to me in playoffs last season, having me come in and make an unbeaten run halfway through the season. He's had a somewhat typical Titanio start to the season. He brings very creative team builds, but they're very much hit or miss. Like week 1, he brought a Lipod into a Clefable and a Scizor team. Not the smartest decision, very alarming error, but really coming back against Dizzy in week 2, where he managed that bulk and the resources on his team very well, jostling for position correctly. If Titanio can bring that level of performance from week 2 further on into the season, he's going to be a real threat. But again, I talk a lot about consistency moving forward through the season. That is something that will need to step up for Titanio if he wants to make playoffs this time round. Coming in at rank number 6, now he's only here for his previous coach reason. Unfortunately, Joe Boy, due to school commitments, he was unable to continue to play his matches, so he's had to step down. Joe Boy, if you're watching this, I wish you well with your school commitments, man. I'm sure I'll see you around in Draft League again soon. So we have a new coach coming in, Coach Pelly of the Niagara Pelipers. His team's currently 2-0, +4 differential. Not a bad start. Now, Pelly has had very high praise from another coach in the league as someone of one of the better battlers that they've ever met. So I'll be interested to see how he adapts to Draft League format. I have no knowledge of him from previous drafts that I've been in or around. He's made a lot of changes to his team, some I like, some I'm not convinced by, but it'll be interesting to see how he uses his team moving forward. Coming in at rank number 5 is someone who has impressed me a lot this season, having joined is Stomp. Currently 2-0, +4 differential. Decent opening record to start the season with for someone who's new. One of the things that impresses me the most about him is how composed he is when he's battling. I had a chance to watch his stream match against Huddle, and at no point did he ever seem to be flustered, even though he was losing mons. He played very nicely, played very smart, manages his resources correctly. His team is very hyper-offensive in playstyle though, and strength of schedule coming up for him is going to be difficult. He plays Agoshi week 3, then he plays Shadow week 4, me week 5, and then Transor week 6. So he's got a really tough schedule ahead of him. So if he can navigate some wins out of that schedule, he'll be a real threat moving forward, and I think his composure will make him a player to watch out for moving forward for the season. Coming in at rank number 4 is going to be me, 2-0 +6 differential. I've had an okay start to the season, obviously beneficiary of a forfeit win in week 1, but my week 2 match was very comfortable over Agoshi. Obviously making full use of Mega Aerodactyl's cleaning potential, picking up 5 kills was always a good way to play the match. My problem right now is my inconsistency. I'll go from the sublime to the ridiculous in like the space of 2 plays. So for me, if I want to win the league this season, obviously I made the finals last season, I need to start ironing out these inconsistencies and just make the smart and safer plays more often. But yeah, hopefully we can do that. I'm playing Huddle this week, so that's going to be a fun match. But yeah. Alright, now we're moving into the top 3. Rank number 3 is going to be DJ. Very impressive start to the season with that Rain team. Really good mastery of it. 2 comfortable wins, 3-0, 5-0 respectively. That being said, he did have to play slightly easier opponents so far. Both of his opponents are currently 0-2 in the standings, but if he can maintain the composure and the form that he's had and how well he's managed his rain turns, he'll be a big threat moving forward into the league. A +8 differential in 2 weeks is nothing to be scoffed at. Speaking of +8 differentials in 2 weeks, coming in at rank 2 is going to be last season's champion Shadow. Shadow definitely taking no prisoners this season, and got a very similar team in a way to last season with some very familiar faces, but he's mixed that in with some really powerful new blood, particularly that Celesteela, which is not easy to play against. And also with that sweeping potential with the Zydoggo in week 2 against Titanio, he definitely proves that he is very strong and a serious threat to any league he plays in. This week he's got a very tough opponent, and so I'll be interested to see how he matches up against them. So that will very much be the Clash of Titans, which will decide who is going to be ranked 1 in the Power Rankings next week. Because rank number 1, talk about take a league by storm, Transol coach of the Hectic High Dragons with back-to-back 6-0 wins. That is remarkable for someone who's just come straight into the league. He's got a phenomenal draft with that Mega Gallade, the Superior, the Heatran, and the Landorus team. Definitely putting in a lot of work in both weeks that he's played in. He's a huge force to be reckoned with moving forward. I have to play him later on in the season, so I'm going to have a hard time with that match. But yeah, if he can maintain his form, maintain these good results coming in, he's going to be a serious contender for the league at the end of the season. But it is still early days though, we have only played 2 weeks, so yeah, we'll see what we can do with that. But anyhow, that's the end of the power ranking. Excuse me. My name is Robomi Teacher, of course. I'm going to get on out of here, stay safe, and finish up preparing for my match with Huddle. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. My name is Robomi Teacher. I'm your coach of the Royal Bournemouth Robomis. Stay safe, stay awesome, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.